Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Way to go on 7. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I could have done that all day. Hey, welcome to Boldly Watch, where we just count.
The podcast where we do visual jokes.
So true. But this is for the Patreon folks. They get the visual jokes. That's
They
their
get
treat.
the secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
You did it. This is what you wanted.
By the way, my extreme tiredness due to not being used to insomnia is going to result in either me not talking at all or me only talking over people. And that's my excuse for what I would do normally.
That seems like quite a range, too. It's way too much.
She does have the range.
Yes. What a diverse woman she is.
Go on.
Looking straight down the barrel.
Yeah.
Go on.
If you were like a guest star on Star Trek, or co-star, I should say. Guest star is what these people were. Like, would you? And you were like supposed to be an alien. Would you rather be like the ambassador, the sovereign type with a little bit more regal flair, or would you rather be like the scavenger folk who like get to wear the semi-biker gang looking material?
I think we all know the answer to this.
I think I know what you're gonna say, but I just want to hear it.
As I rip the iPad out of your hands, I think you'll know I identify with the gatherers.
Right.
What an ironic nickname.
But I will say, as soon as I saw Yuta and like her whole storyline, she seems like a very Becca character. Like I could see you playing that character very well.
Stop. Go on.
Yeah. Well, that was the statement.
Nope, that's where I will end the
I just realized Yuta, unless you pronounce it very articulately, it sounds like the state of Utah.
Utah?
Yeah, when the Sovereign first called her out, I was like, oh, is this a cowgirl we got coming over here? Who's Utah?
Yeehaw,
I
it's
like to
Utah.
watch everything with subtitles so that I know how things are spelled.
Yes.
It's
Same.
very important for me.
Especially sci-fi.
I find myself getting visually pulled down to the subtitles for too long, and I miss like a little bit of the scenery or certain details that I have been able to pull out. I also like do that when I'm watching or when I'm like writing notes. I'm like, I need to actually pay attention to things because I really enjoy the set design on this show, and I want to like keep an eye on that and not miss out.
You're not wrong. But once you're in the subtitles game, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, it's hard to turn them off because you catch everything.
Can't get anything past me, Utah.
We should actually intro this episode. It's The Vengeance Factor. The crew of the Enterprise negotiates the reunification of a divided species, but the potential for peace is threatened by a murder.
By Utah.
Murder. I'm very complimented that you said that I could play this type of character motivated solely by vengeance and nothing else. And now that you say that, I realize that the character I've created for my brand new D&D campaign, shout out to Black Dice Society, starting a week from on April 1st, and she's all about vengeance.
She's playing a pretty long deceptive game, right?
Yeah.
Not only long in terms of the years she's been pulling this off, but in terms of like she's very different in her personality than she is in her mission. So she has this very meek character, which I would say, Becca, is not a word I would ever use to describe you. So like that's a good deceptive role for you to try and take if you were to enact your plan of justice. She says justice, which I think is in her eyes what she's doing.
Right.
Do you know for a fact that I'm not enacting a long-term plan of vengeance?
Oh, so in real life, your mission is a meek one, and so you've been aggressive in life the whole time?
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Don't
Actually,
touch
that
my
feels
face.
right. Yeah. Gosh, I like this episode.
It
I
was
like
a good
Yuta.
episode.
This has like been like 4 for 4, right? Like the past few episodes have been all really good.
And I feel like you can see that they're putting money towards like the sets and the it felt like a world that was built for this episode.
several
you mean
worlds.
the world of the 1980s New York set of Rent?
I love it. I love it so much.
9,025,600
That's
minutes.
word for word the song. That was amazing.
Watch out, we're gonna get struck with DMCA takedowns here.
I know, because I'm always on key.
Yeah, and math.
I won't say it's a perfectly constructed episode, nor that there's multiple plot lines that converge in the way that they have been doing for season 3 that we've been impressed by. It didn't have all that because the gatherers are very one-dimensional. We steal things and we have bumpy faces.
Right. Right.
Well, they did want to fight. Like I saw a little bit more of them in the negotiation scenes when they were like saying, we want autonomy and stuff, but they had a different philosophy of like, if we have to survive, we do what it takes to survive, and that's how it goes. And yeah, it was a simple philosophy for sure. But we saw that they came from a different place.
I do like that they did sort of acknowledge it with the screen time with Wesley, and that in Wesley's understanding of them, we come to understand them a little bit too, of like, oh, it's just their way of expressing themselves, or it's how, they live.
I saw a real big parallel and through line to the divide in America right now. And these are, the like real anti-PC culture kind of dudes, let's say, to put it nicely. And seeing them as sort of these villains in a way, just because their behavior is so uncouth. And in that scene you mentioned with Wesley gives a look that is so condescending that I think is a lot of that elite versus regular person contrast being embodied in just a look. And also completely understanding wanting to exile all those people from the planet.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Except for the attempt at reunification that's happening all throughout this episode, right?
All the cards choosing. Marouk was like, "Hey, do you want to go kill them for us, please?"
That's an interesting point.
Hold on.
That's a good point. She wasn't really wanting to negotiate. She had to be talked into it. I forgot about that factor.
Well,
You're right.
let's zoom out. Akamar 3 is the planet that has this problem with their exiles who have been for 100 years off planet, just raiding and pillaging and stealing weapons and murdering people. The show, The Cold Open, is on a ship that there's just non-human blood and there's bodies on this ship with stolen stuff.
This opening scene made me write down the note, I want to do a Star Trek escape room. How fun would that be? And like, hold on, this is my $1 million idea. You go in there.
You're giving it away for free to patrons.
Like, you're in your uniform and you have an app on your phone that's like the tricorder, and you scan QR codes and you can like put clues together. Oh my God, let's do it.
Xander, make it.
Ooh, the tricorder bit's good. I like that.
Anyway,
really good. Here's the thing about that teaser. I didn't count the lines, but I think there were less than 10 lines in that whole teaser.
It was very action oriented.
There was just a few times within the script where they didn't say more than they needed to, which I felt like they did a lot in the first 2 seasons. And I'll try and find other examples as we go through. But like, there was a lot of Spartan speaking, and also just like you saw what was happening, and we got to kind of explore visually real quick. It was also a quick teaser.
Yeah.
I was too busy looking for subtitles that weren't there, so I missed all of that.
The fun fact, the background matte painting in the opening shot there, that kind of green planet space, that's actually a background painting from the 1956 movie The Forbidden Planet.
Oh,
they reused it.
That's cool.
Yeah, one of the production designers saw it in the catalog. Is like, we just need to get this on set, and they're like, okay, but it has to make sense why it's on there. They're like, okay, we'll wait until there's an episode that works.
I will say that because this is another one where we have 2 alien species like having their civil war. It's so nice that they went with like face bumps and things and not stereotypical accents.
Yeah, and just a makeup choice that was different with like the I don't know if it was an insignia on the sides of their faces, like the horizontal sideburns.
Tattoo?
Was it a tattoo?
No, well the cheekbones on the other one.
Well, that's the thing is like, did Yuta only have 1 and the Sovereign had 2? Am I misremembering
I think
that?
they were just on opposite sides. They had these blue cheekbone accentuators, but then the exiled gatherers had bumpy faces.
Right.
And is that like what happens if you don't have a homeland for too long? You just start to get weird skin conditions? Or I thought that they, even though they're all from warring clans, it seems like a mix of clans make up both the people on the planet and the gatherers. So why don't they have the same? I mean, I guess not.
I think it's a culture thing as opposed to a racial or species thing. Like, I think it's the culture that stayed there has that kind of look. And I don't know if it's a physical thing. I'm not sure. But obviously with the scavengers being all scar ridden.
Right. Because that's
well,
I took them
they took them
more,
off, right?
More of scars and like tattoos rather than a naturally occurring thing. They looked like what's it called when your ear gets injured and it has the buildup of like
cartilage
calcium,
scars.
like cartilage, yeah.
You know, of all the self-inflicted wounds, these bumps, not the most attractive. I mean, like, you know, shout out. Not that acne can't be beautiful, but this is like really seems. It does seem like it was on purpose because they all had it in kind of like one splotch.
You could probably some sort of mark of honor or, you know, adulthood or something like that.
Yeah, it looked like a branding.
I mean, acne isn't a mark of adulthood. I think
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I think you're right, Becca. Is like they removed them by like burning them off.
Oh,
that's what those scars are. And they also burned up their own forehead. You see that in Brull. That is the kind of
denying their roots by burning them off.
Yeah, that's what they did. That makes more sense. I didn't notice that until we've just got in this discussion.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay,
that's a cool
detail.
layer.
Good detail, but maybe could have been more visually clear because they seemed like they were on different parts of the cheeks.
Especially for a show like Star Trek, which is so known, like you said, Jake, they're focusing more on showing rather than telling, whereas in the past they've been known to tell rather than show.
Mm-hmm.
I feel in a past episode they would have had a scene where they explain that they burnt off the scars because I don't want to remember. But you know what? They didn't do that at all. They just had it. And then it took us having this revelation a couple hours after we watched the show. Yeah, I did too, because we earned it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think that Marouk was wearing a banana costume?
No.
She looked like a banana.
I wasn't going to say banana, although she did have like this part of her robe or whatever it is that she wore has like an extra layer of fabric that only goes over one half of her chest, which made it look
pageant
like
sash.
Is that what? I almost asked you if that's what it was called. No, but it made it look like her torso was larger on one side than the other. I thought that was a little lopsided.
Yeah, well, she reminds me a lot of the DSI character Kai Wynn, which you meet later on. It's a very regal Bajoran who wears a lot of outfits that are similar, and she's not the greatest. Which is not Marouk's fault, but...
So go ahead, Becca.
I don't know. No, you.
Oh yeah. So let's see. The Enterprise goes to, after seeing like this Federation outpost has been hit by these gatherers, they pick up the sovereign of their of the civilization and says, we're gonna go find the scavengers and we're gonna talk to them. But first,
hold on, I need my cook.
Yeah.
Need my cook and food taster. But we go and we find the gatherers on their planet right thereafter, right? And that's the 90s Rent set that you mentioned, which was really actually pretty cool for...
It was awesome.
Yeah. I was impressed by it. I was like, oh, this is like three-dimensional too.
Yeah,
it's just not on that plane. There was a lot of shots from up above looking down looking up. They hadn't done that.
With the zinger line after they have a confrontation.
Worf also totally missed that like joint phaser shot. They're like, okay, we're setting it to a certain frequency, and then we're going to aim it at this one thing. And Worf's shot is like way off.
So here's I was actually thought that was another example of showing, not telling, where they didn't tell Worf to provide cover fire for what they were doing. So they all exposed themselves to shoot at the metal alloy, right? While Worf shoots at them so they can't fire down at them.
They
didn't overly coordinate that plan. And that's the same thing. Yeah. You thought Worf was just all over the place?
Yeah, I was like, Worf,
maybe we should turn off our subtitles.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we do miss some of those things with that. And I also noticed like Riker didn't over-explain the plan. He asked like what the temperature was of the metal that would melt, right? And Data provides it, and Geordi's like setting 7 should do it, right? And then they just go for it. Like
this is also cool because it sets up for a moment later, which we evaluate phaser settings and things like that.
oh my gosh,
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
crazy.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Wait,
So
what was that? Did I watch that scene?
you were probably looking
It's
at the
at the
subtitles. You'll see. So we do a clever little trick where we pretend we're beaming out, but in reality, we never beamed out.
Yeah.
And
Another
the
tricky
noise.
didn't over-explain the plan moment.
It just, and also we didn't like revel in it later. We just let it happen and then
It was
resolved
cool.
it. As Becca mentioned, Worf gets a zinger on the poor fellow who he ambushes.
Your ambush would have worked better if you bathed more.
It's so close to like succinct too, but he's just like 2 or 3 more words longer than it needs to be.
The bathing
but
that
Michael
you
Dorn
did
nailed
not do let me in on the fact that your stench got in your way of your
Perhaps-
ambush.
Perhaps a lavender scent next time wouldn't have given you away.
Now Worf is a villain.
So then we start to negotiate with these 2 halves of this civilization, right? And during those negotiations, Yuta, who we learn is just I guess we haven't learned about her yet, right? Let's see, what's
Not
the order
really.
of this? We've learned who
We
she is
learned-
because Riker introduced himself to her.
We
right?
test the food maker, the replicator.
Riker instantly horny on Maine. Like
Yeah. But
out
you
of
know,
the gate.
we haven't gotten enough horny on main Riker lately. Season 3 especially, they were like, maybe we should slow down with him trying to sex everyone who comes on board. But we're back at it in episode 9. Don't worry.
I do like that he didn't like lead into like smooth talking so much as genuinely asking her what she's good at. Like that was more of a connection moment. He's being a good ambassador as well as like trying to make a particular connection.
Well, yeah, he's obvious, as later stated in the episode, but
Yeah.
I am here for the very forthright obviousness he's going for. He's really stepped up his game. That's the actor as well as the writing staff that's like, yes, of course Riker wants to fuck everyone and everything. But
can we
maybe that
frame
need
it?
to fuck is coming from the heart.
There we
Let's try that.
Yeah. Riker's horny on the inside too.
Yeah, and
He's horny
Deanna
on his
Troi?
main artery.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Deanna Troi comes in later as the wing woman. Just
Yeah,
want to
she
point that
does.
out. She's like, I know we're fuck buddies, but like, I see what's happening here, and
yeah.
I'll look you up.
She could feel it.
I wrote down,
Oh.
yeah, she could feel it. And I wrote down
Yeah.
like Riker almost got the group sex he was looking for. But not yet. Not ready.
So close.
And Deanna winks on her way out, like, this one's
Yeah.
not for me, but keep asking.
My communicator's still on.
Ah.
Yeah. So we find out that Yuta, however, is a little more than she seems and
Bum, bum,
corners
bum.
one of the scavengers and kills him just by touching him
In the face.
in the face.
I loved it. There was a clear moment when she smiled at him and you didn't know if it was flirtation and like, hey, our families are, friends. And then
Right.
she follows him with this devious smile and smirk. And she's like, oh, I'm getting what I came for.
And that's where I said, ooh, Becca would be good at this part.
Yeah. Switching on a dime, me and Yuta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is what I was asking in the beginning of the episode too. Of like, we should be looking for the roles that we would do if we were actors in the late '80s, early '90s, and like I do think this would be a good Becca role.
Mhm.
Go on. I thought for a moment before we saw the murder, I thought she might be a sympathizer of the gatherers and be about to help them with their negotiations from the other side. And then quite the opposite was true.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
this is when we also see when the man of Clan Lornak that was killed recognizes her and says, how's it possible you haven't aged? The thing that this episode glosses over and they could tell a little more on would be how she's like, oh, yeah, my people decided I just wasn't going to age anymore. So
Right.
that's what happened there.
You could make an extrapolation. It's because she has this like disease passing thing that it has that side effect or something. Like it's science magic.
Yeah,
feel like
but tell me
they-
more magic words. Tell me
Yeah.
more technobabble of the science magic.
I feel like they saw an episode of like Homicide or Law and Order or something where they used a photograph and saw someone in the background. They're like, we could do that on our show too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, describe
like,
that, please.
That's what we want to do for this episode. So we're just going to make that the clincher. Like, it wasn't enough. Like, we knew the mystery already. We knew she was she was an assassin. We learned that in Act 2. So like, there was no mystery for us. It was watching the crew of the Enterprise figure it out.
And I will say, I really appreciated
for
how
people who haven't rewatched. Can we explain what you're talking about?
Oh, well, okay, yeah. So if you haven't rewatched and are listening to this, then we find out after we learn what Yuta has done that she is much older than she seems, because she's caught in a photograph where another one of these members of the same clan had died recently, and she was in the background looking the same.
Enhance, take this corner of an eyebrow, enhance, recreate the rest of the face. Yeah. If I know one eyebrow, me as a computer, I can extrapolate the rest of anybody's face.
For sure. And then use it as hard evidence that's definitely that
that's
person.
the other thing. It's like, oh, she hasn't aged a day. It's like, well, maybe the computer's making some assumptions, y'all.
Yeah, based on people who are on board, it has the DNA structure for.
I would like it if the computer is always making shortcuts just to like get things moving. It's like, it's this woman, go deal with it.
Yeah. Right. Oh man, maybe the computer's out for revenge.
Oh. I will say that from this point, I like where they went with it, because it had a tendency to have gone into predictable territory. They called Crusher down. I have a note. Crusher is awesome. She's amazing.
She's just awesome.
She comes down and they have a like civilized discussion with the gatherers of like, well, he was old. It was cardiac arrest. These things happen. And I was like, in like season 1 or season 2 of Next Gen, it would have been instant like, well, there's conflict now, and now we're going to our ships, and now we're at war. And they didn't do that. Yeah. I thought that was a nice switch, and there was some talking reasonably with everybody.
Yeah, it was nice that she could be Crusher the detective in the background without that becoming the A plot.
Right.
I agree.
It was a good way to do a B plot without there being a distinct, like, she's not a part of it.
Yeah, it's another thing to remember, that these characters like have their own episodes where they are in every act and they're doing a lot of things, and there's also episodes where they're in 2 acts and they're providing exposition but also like having to add to the scene. So Gates did a great job on that.
She's very pointed, very direct. She knows what her goal is in the scene. She's a great actor. Yes. Another great actor is Yuta of Clan Trelesta. I just want to shout out the Trelestas. If they were going to go out,
well, I don't think there are any more. So that's true. She outlived them all. She's the last. But how baller is it that they were like, to destroy our enemies, let's just get a microvirus that only murders them. How cool would that be? I feel like they worked backwards from this premise and found the science magic to make it happen, which is incredible. Yeah. Wow. It is very much a feat of science.
Yeah. Way to go, Trelestas. And then there's a scene in 10 Forward where everybody has all this action happening all within one room, which is kind of nice. We're seeing, the sexy Troy kind of wing-womaning it for Riker, who finally gets to try this delicious, delectable green plant, Parthas a la Yuta, which Riker always says with an accent that is not how she said it.
Not at all.
Parthas a la Yuta.
It's like, what?
She's like, it's not Spanish. It's just
or whatever that is.
Yeah. But somehow it worked because she gets the signals, and
they're pretty loud signals.
Then gets sent to Riker's quarters by her sovereign, as it were.
Right.
And it brings up this bigger question of what is the relationship between the sovereign and all of her subjects? Are they all sort of servants to their sovereign? She says in 10 Forward that she is not a slave. She could leave anytime she wants, but she can't leave because her loyalty to her clan gives her loyalty to her sovereign in this complex, convoluted.
Yeah, I feel like it's a duty thing, not unlike military service in some way. Whereas they can they could leave, but it's like considered dishonorable to just like leave in their culture, maybe.
Not only that, with Yuta specifically, she has another layer of she has this dark mission that she has to complete.
Yeah.
And so she's trapped in the servitude of the Sovereign to complete that mission.
Right, that's what she wasn't saying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like also like what's her cover of just being able
Right.
to what is she
I
supposed
love
to live
tasting
under?
food.
Right.
I love
I also-
the
For all that
opportunity to
food
maybe get
tasting,
poisoned.
drinking, and like no one else got poisoned. I was kind of expecting
Yeah.
Brull to get poisoned at some point. Like I was,
Yeah.
and when we find out later that he's not the right clan member or whatever. But like I was like, what? There's so many food tasting references here, and no one dies by that.
No, but here's the thing: the food taster herself is the poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the irony, and that's why it wasn't an unfired
point.
Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Good
You're
call.
right.
Good call.
Yeah, and I will say that too. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind.
It was going to be good, though. Oh, should we talk about Brull? Yeah, and we talked a little about Brull and Wesley, but Brull is just... He also steals a drink from a bar patron. What a bastard.
He takes what he needs.
I love the acting from the background actor because you can see him mouth to the patron that he stole from. He's like, "I'm gonna get you another one. Don't worry." And he turns around to replicate another one.
Again, that's a background either actor or probably extra, featured extra who didn't get a line, right?
Right.
So I still has to like mouth something.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
The other thing I will say is that when Brull finally gets onto the bridge of the Enterprise and is like allowed on, there's a fun scene with Worf and like where he can and can't go, but we see him sort of sticking it to Wesley right away of like a kid on the bridge of a ship, and then we see Picard sticking up for the kid on the bridge, which I thought was a cool little circle moment.
For the man who doesn't like children. Indeed, it was. And Wesley's a special case because he immediately proves his purpose in a cool little thing where it was like, okay, the hidden leader of the gatherers is right here. And Wesley's all like, you want me to go directly into the middle of an asteroid field? And he says, what, you scared? You can't do it, kid? No, but we could just like backdoor. We could just go in the back door. Oh,
So many dimensions.
Fine. Yeah.
Well, it does a couple of things too. Also, at the 10 forward scene where he's talking to Wesley about his math homework and how his kid isn't very good at math. Both of these scenes are actually to the whole plot kind of not relevant, but what they do, and which I love that they're included, is that they give life to both Wesley and this Brull, right?
Yeah.
Because Brull is really just a process for us to get to the leader of their clan. So like
He's a real Brull, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's a real
like,
Brull
such a
about
Brull.
everything.
we're giving him depth by like having him have these interactions, and I appreciated that they're going there and actually taking time to do that as opposed to just hitting every plot point every time.
Yeah, it's a good point because the leader, when we do meet him, Chorgon, he doesn't get that screen time to be humanized or, whatever their species is called. And wait, but we just need to talk about how Brull is the perfect name to encompass what he is. It's like a dull bro.
Brull.
Get out of here. You're such a Brull. It's my new
I thought
slam.
The not extras, but the special guest players were great in the acting on both sides.
Well, Yuta is hard to compare. I mean, her performance was so honest, and I was hanging on every word when she goes to Riker's quarters, and they have this intimate moment where she says, "I'm here. You can have your way with me. I'm all about it. Let me please you." And he's like, "You want to please me, or you were ordered to please me?" Because we just had this talk about how I'm not into servant stuff. That's like maybe your role play thing.
Yeah,
but I'm
not
not
into it.
Yeah, I want to give you pleasure. We need to be equals. And she's like, ooh, problem for me. I seek no pleasure. I just want to murder. So not going to happen. And there was this moment where maybe it's a little like outdated that he grabs her when she tries to leave. But he's just trying to embrace her. He's already said like, I'm not going to take you without your permission.
Right.
So I didn't mind that like physical kind of forcing himself, but it was like a hug. It was a gesture of caring and like tender kind of fatherliness or brotherliness that I thought was really nice.
It's the thing. I didn't see it as familial so much as romantic, because to me it looked like, because I see what you saw, Becca, and like to me it's Riker / Jonathan Frakes kind of trying to evoke the 60s era Captain Kirk a little bit, and like maybe even the bravado of that old style of acting, a little bit of being that that guy who can take the weeping maiden, which she's not that. She's much stronger than that, right? But like that's kind of what it visually looks like. And I was like,
right.
All right, so he's keeping that, but we're letting him get away with it because he did the absolute right thing by like saying, "Hey, I want an equal part in this. I want us to be equals in this relationship, not for you to be a lesser than me." By any
Right. I guess it was romantic, but just not sexual.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was caring. It was exactly.
Now that you bring
Jonathan
that up,
Frakes gave me the feels.
right? I feel like this was sort of revisiting those tropes of that we see in 60s Trek, but done in like a 90s version with consciousness of trying to be like, we need to be equals, and this is how you can communicate. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just goes to show when you have two very impressive actors having an intimate scene like that, it just escalates. It takes it somewhere magical when they're just able to get something back from one another in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
the opposite of Chorgon.
Yeah.
So we finally get a hold of the scavenger leader after he fires on our ship repeatedly without talking to us. So we just lower his shield. We just defeat his shields and say, we'll wait for his phone call. Yeah. And he does eventually call. And so we get to meet him down on his ship, actually, which is an interesting choice. Is like, we're beaming over. Well, okay, that's an interesting level of trust. But I see what he did because he let him be comfortable in his own environment. So he showed the first willingness to be vulnerable, right?
Picard Master negotiator Picard.
And going along the tactics of showing rather than telling, if you've been following along with Next Generation, you know that there are these negotiating tactics. So you can see them in play here and put these pieces together. You're not playing to an audience that doesn't know about negotiating.
Yeah, they're kind of establishing their own canon for like the Starfleet rulebook as well.
Yeah.
Which I really like. So negotiations actually, they start off rocky, but they're a good example of how negotiations kind of could go well. Like they're talking to each other about what they truly want, and the Sovereign is remarkably like, look, I'm trying to work this out, and offering them as much as they can. And so it actually starts to progress in a real way very quickly. And I thought that was a good representation.
Picard also steps in and says, hey, now, well, you heard they're giving a little ground here. Can we acknowledge? Yeah.
That he's trying. And she's like, yes, okay, well, there's levels of autonomy. We can explore that. Yeah.
But really, if you come back to the planet, you will belong to me, is the vibe I'm getting. I mean, originally, politically, I thought I aligned with Marouk. But at the end of the day, it's like, I get where these gatherers are coming from. Everyone on the planet of Akamar seems to belong to her and have to pledge fealty to her in a way that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much they establish of like what's going on their side of it, but it's like there's these imperfect parts of all of these civilizations, right? And so it's like, if you want to merge them, you're going to have to make concessions in both ways. And whoever wants to make those concessions can, but they have to live under that new lifestyle.
One other thing that I appreciated about this version of negotiations is that we didn't get like a concrete reason that one was reaching out to the other. Like, I feel like in previous seasons we would have gotten, the population is dying and we need you to repopulate, or like this, we don't have this precious mineral that's only you have, or whatever. You know what I mean? There wasn't a concrete reason. This was purely out of, we need to come together as civilizations for that reason.
Well, kind of, it was established that you're making us look bad because the rest of the Federation is really frowning upon the fact that their people are being murdered and their ships are being raided. But you're right in that there wasn't really much motivation for Marouk to take them back.
Yeah, the impetus for us being there was because the Federation outpost was raided. But you're right, Xander, is that like we didn't have to go the extra mile to make this work, but here we are. The extra light year?
Yeah.
The extra light year.
All right, so let's get to the meat of this, is where, we do some hardcore investigation on the computer and do some enhancement. And we find that, Crusher discovers, okay, there's a microvirus. It only targets these people. And I went to the records and found out one other person has died of this, and it's this person's relative. They're in the same clan. They reverse engineer what happened by finding this photograph of a trial of a previous member of that same clan. Do I have this right?
Yep.
And find out that Yuta was in the background.
Allegedly.
Yeah, it definitely felt like one of those moments they were waiting to like do a big reveal, but like it's not enough of a mystery to really feel like, aha! It's just like, oh, that's how they get her.
So this happens as Picard's already negotiating on the other ship, and Riker just crashes the party, and he's
Beam
like,
and bash.
hold up, phaser you. I'm gonna randomly phaser somebody that works on this ship.
Yeah.
Seemingly
Now
for no
every
reason.
time I play Star Trek Adventures, I want to start every away team with phasering at least one person and then continue with the mission.
Execute the beam and bash.
I'm pretty sure my first is here for a reason. Right?
Right? Phasered that guy for a purpose, right, Riker?
But I also took this as like he took the shot before the security guard could shoot him for barging in. So it was,
I think that's
Riker shot first.
Yeah, and he was just phasing to stun.
Yeah, well, not for
at
long.
that point.
Yeah, this like resolution really got to me. I was like, what is happening?
I did not like how this resolved.
So for those of you that somehow didn't watch it, like Yuta is about to go give brandy to what's his name?
Chorgon.
Yeah. I always want to call him Chogon.
He's
so
not a Brull.
No Brull.
Chorgon. She's about to go
he is a Brull, but his name is not Brull.
He's Brull in spirit.
Yeah.
She's about to go give some brandy to him, and Riker stops her because he knows that if she touches his skin, he'll have a heart attack.
Yeah.
And points a phaser at her and tries to talk her off the ledge. And she insists that she can't. And she reveals who she is, that she's is it Telestarian or what's their name?
You said it earlier, Becca.
Tralesta.
It sounds like a sleep aid.
Yeah, it does sound. After she says her name, she should give us a bunch of side effects. That
side effects may include a heart attack.
Heart attacks out of nowhere. Yeah.
Well played, Xander. And so his negotiating. After he fails to reason with her, and she lunges for her. Yeah, go ahead.
And this is where I start to overwork the justifications in my head. Is that that Riker,
I can see this happening to Xander as he watches too. He's like, okay, this is okay because of this. This is okay because of this.
And he was like, okay, I'm trying it on the stun setting, which I definitely know this phaser has, and the stun setting is ineffective based on her genetic makeup or her determination or whatever is keeping her going. It's not working, and the stun is not an option at all. And there are no hypo sprays that could fix it, or negotiation tactics, or anything that could ever come to help.
Tackle her.
He tried. He said, "Don't do this. I will stop you." And she was like, "Must with my dying breath kill this dude." And so she was going to continue to do that. I mean, she can't. It seems like whatever microvirus is already in her DNA or on her skin, it's not like she's dipping her hand in a bowl of it every morning. She just has it. And so she's always a threat to this dude.
Yeah. But, like, the full disintegration is rough.
Yeah.
I know. What if you missed a little bit? What if little back spray got on Picard, who was right behind her?
That's not really my concern, but yeah, I guess.
Well, I get it, but she knew this is it. This is like, I will die to do this. And she kept doing it. Even, he didn't explicitly say, I'm turning it up now.
Right. Well, the other justification that I had going on is they had that intimate scene, and he was able to see she's not able to feel passion or anything moving forward except for the sense of duty. So that was the drastic measure that would need to be taken. But
yeah, that I suppose that justifies it. It still feels so heavy-handed. Like we have so few people, we have so few resolutions with a lot of these villains where they tend to just be like locked up or like put away. Like I don't know, like not that I necessarily need to see this character again or anything like that, but I felt for her a little bit. Even though she was an assassin, you see why she did it. I don't agree with what she's doing, but like there's some identification with her, and you do feel sad for her family being wiped out by another clan.
Yeah. I do have to. I'm rewatching the scene, and he says, "Yuta, don't do this." And then she takes on her third approach a big backswing, a la like an Acme character,
like a 1920s
Wile E.
actress.
Coyote. Yeah, reels back and then jolts forward to give that momentum to really phase her out of existence. It's pretty great. It's a very, I'm running now and my feet move, you know?
So there's also this weird whole aspect of like Picard in the background of that shot, just calmly watching while everything happens. So let me give a little context for that because the producers also noticed it too. So let's see.
No, wait, there's just one scene that they cut to and it's Picard with a thumbs down looking disapprovingly.
Or just finishing like, so this is why you interrupted us?
Yeah, reason number one.
The director, Timothy Bond, explained why Picard seemingly has no reaction to Riker killing Yuta. Regarding Picard, I'm afraid there is a reason for his lack of reactions, which is the opticals. He couldn't move for that one period while she gets vaporized for special effects.
Yeah.
In retrospect, it was a mistake of mine. I just had this idea that it would be really neat when she's vaporized, Picard was there in the shot. That meant putting several layers of elements in the shot. In order for it to work perfectly, Picard had to stay still. That's not a good reason. When I saw it, I actually regretted the decision, and by then the ship had sailed. Believe me, Patrick noticed it too. He even asked, quote, I'm supposed to sit here and do nothing? The other problem is, what could he do? We knew Riker had to kill the girl, and we didn't want Picard shot by the phaser. In retrospect, what I should have done is what you usually do, don't have him in the shot. If he's not, then the audience doesn't think, why doesn't Picard react? We had a lot of rationales at the time, but we were wrong. Overall, though, I'm very proud of the episode.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not bothered by it because my thought was he's there to negotiate, so he has to let the other two parties, if he shows any favor one side or the other, then he's favoring a party and he has to be neutral in this situation.
No, I can see that.
But there's a phaser pointed in his direction, and someone who's been in the room for the past hours with him just got blown out of existence.
Totally.
Totally evaporated.
Totally. Yeah, so you felt okay about it, Becca. You're like, yeah, this is the way it goes.
Look, as someone who can deeply relate to Yuta as a character and as someone I would want to play, I understand her need to go out with a bang. She chose this. It was kind of a kamikaze. It was 100% a kamikaze move.
Totally.
And so this is her great exit story. And to, it's like in Forrest Gump, not going down with the ship, the captain, you know what I mean? His buddy, I forgot his name, Captain Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Take me out. This is my
Lieutenant
purpose.
Dan.
I gotta go.
Lieutenant Dan.
He's Captain Dan to me.
Sure.
Oh, right, the ship. Okay, I was like, they were in Nam in the... Oh, right. The boat, the shrimp boat. I remember now.
I forgot what movie.
Titanic? Is that the movie you're talking about?
Titanic. All I'm saying is she wanted to go out with a bang, and she did.
And then the end scene where we see Riker in 10 forward, and Picard mentions, we're going to have an extended shore leave for folks if you want that. And Riker responds with, I'll let the crew know.
Yeah.
But we can see he's very bothered by that, which I'm glad they had that end cap scene because we want to know that like Riker was close to connecting with her and it didn't work out. Not only did it not work out, he killed her.
Yeah.
Really hard on a relationship.
Yeah. Remind me never to break up with you, Jake. Yeah, it's not going to work out.
Ooh. Harsh.
But no, I do like that they show that because, again, in contrast to like the 60s macho bravado, this is, even though it's behind a thinly veiled like dialogue, the assumption is that Riker is going to take some time off and he's really feeling these feelings and remorse for what's been done, which was great and the only like saving thing for what happened.
Yeah. Great episode though. I enjoyed it very much.
Indeed.
It moved quickly. Well, next week we've got another one that's great. It's The Defector. A Romulan defector requests asylum aboard the Enterprise after claiming to possess vital information about an imminent Romulan invasion.
And we always trust Romulans, right?
Always trust Romulans.
Okay, spoilers. Now I know not to trust this Romulan.
Or do you?
I do, implicitly. I love their eyebrows.
Well, when you see a picture of this Romulan from 50 years ago at a peace summit, you'll learn to accept him.
Mm-hmm. And never age.
Okay, never age. On 3. Never age. No one counted.
You didn't count to the 3.